On the night of April 14, 1912, the most luxurious ship ever built disappeared beneath the icy waters of the North Atlantic. Over 2,200 people were on board. More than 1,500 would never return home. But here's the astonishing part. The iceberg wasn't the only reason the Titanic sank. A series of tiny decisions, missed warnings, design compromises, and human mistakes combined to create one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history. So what really happened aboard the Titanic? And could the disaster have been avoided? This is the complete story of the Titanic. At the beginning of the 20th century, Britain dominated the world's oceans. Luxury ocean liners weren't simply ships. They were symbols of national pride. Competition between shipping companies was fierce. The White Star Line wanted to build 3 ships unlike anything the world had ever seen: Olympic, Titanic, Britannic. Together they would become the largest moving objects ever created by mankind. Construction of Titanic began in Belfast, Northern Ireland, in 1909. More than 3,000 workers spent over 2 years assembling the enormous vessel. She measured nearly 270 meters long, stood 11 decks high, and weighed over 46,000 tons. Titanic featured electric lifts, a heated swimming pool, Turkish baths, squash courts, fine dining rooms, libraries, and one of the grandest staircases ever built. For first-class passengers, traveling across the Atlantic felt more like staying in a luxury hotel than sailing across an ocean. Yet below decks, hundreds of third-class passengers traveled in far simpler conditions, hoping for a better life in America. Titanic represented 2 very different worlds, one of extraordinary wealth and another of hope. When she left Southampton on 10 April 1912, thousands gathered to watch. Many believed they were witnessing history. They were. Just not for the reasons they expected. Titanic departed Southampton, carrying over 2,200 passengers and crew. She stopped briefly in France, then Ireland, before heading west across the Atlantic. The voyage was remarkably smooth. Passengers dined in luxury. Children played on deck. Musicians entertained guests every evening. Newspapers called Titanic the safest ship ever built. Although many later claimed she was described as unsinkable, the reality was more complicated. The ship had advanced safety features and watertight compartments. Many believed she was practically unsinkable. But practically is very different from impossible. During the crossing, nearby ships repeatedly transmitted warnings. Sea ice ahead, floating icebergs, dangerous conditions. At least 6 separate warnings reached Titanic's wireless operators. Some messages were passed to the bridge. Others were delayed while operators prioritized passenger telegrams. Meanwhile, Captain Edward Smith chose to maintain nearly full speed. This wasn't unusual for the era. Many captains believed a modern ship could safely navigate around ice. But conditions that night were far from normal. The sea was perfectly calm. There were no waves breaking against icebergs. Without waves, ice became almost invisible. At 11:40 p.m., lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee spotted a dark shape directly ahead. "Iceberg, right ahead!" The warning reached the bridge. First Officer William Murdoch ordered, "Hard, a starboard." The engines reversed. But Titanic was simply too large, too fast, too close. The ship scraped along the iceberg for just a few seconds. Many passengers barely noticed. Some joked that someone had dropped a suitcase. Others felt only a slight vibration. Yet below the waterline, steel plates buckled. Rivets failed. 6 watertight compartments flooded almost immediately. The ship had been designed to survive flooding in 4, not 6. Naval architect Thomas Andrews quickly calculated the truth. Titanic would sink. It was only a matter of time. At first, nobody panicked. Passengers continued drinking coffee, playing cards, reading books. Crew members hesitated to alarm everyone, lifeboats began to fill slowly. Some left less than half full. Many passengers simply couldn't believe the ship was actually sinking. After all, this was Titanic, the greatest ship ever built. Surely nothing could happen. But water continued rising. The bow slowly dipped beneath the Atlantic. As the list became more severe, reality finally set in. Crew shouted orders. Families became separated. The famous instruction echoed across the decks. Women and children first. Not everyone obeyed. Some men climbed aboard lifeboats. Others refused to leave their wives. The ship's band continued playing music to calm passengers. Exactly what they played last remains debated. Many believe it was "Nearer, my God, to Thee." Others disagree. What is certain, the musicians never stopped performing. None survived. By 2:00 a.m., only a handful of lifeboats remained. The bow disappeared beneath the ocean. The stern lifted high into the air. Lights flickered. Then, darkness. At approximately 2:20 a.m., Titanic broke apart. Thousands entered water barely above freezing. Most victims died not by drowning, but from hypothermia. The temperature was around -2 degrees Celsius, cold enough to kill within minutes. Nearby, the passenger ship Carpathia raced toward Titanic's final position. But she arrived nearly 2 hours too late. Only 706 people survived. More than 1,500 perished. Titanic changed the world. Before 1912, there were no international rules requiring enough lifeboats for everyone aboard. After the disaster, that changed. Continuous radio watches became mandatory. Ice patrols began monitoring the North Atlantic. Modern safety drills became standard. International maritime law was transformed forever. Every cruise ship sailing today, every emergency drill, every lifeboat inspection, can trace part of its history back to Titanic. The disaster also reminds us of something timeless. Technology can achieve incredible things, but confidence without preparation can become dangerous. No matter how advanced our engineering becomes, nature always deserves respect. Here's something many people don't know. When Titanic was discovered on the ocean floor in 1985, researchers expected to find one giant wreck. Instead, they discovered the ship had split into two massive sections over 600 meters apart. Scattered between them lay thousands of personal belongings: shoes, eyeglasses, suitcases, children's toys, even unopened bottles. Each object told the story of someone who never completed their journey. More than a century later, the Titanic is slowly disappearing. Bacteria are consuming the steel, and experts believe much of the wreck may eventually collapse entirely. One day, the greatest ship of its age may vanish forever, but its story almost certainly never will. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to subscribe for more stories from history that changed the world. And let me ask you this. Do you think the Titanic disaster was unavoidable, or do you believe one decision could have saved the ship? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next journey into history.